13 Questions by Man Transcending. Manhood in the Digital Age.
Welcome back to 13 Questions. Today we're going to be bringing you an interview with Mike Leathers. Darren ran into Mike over on Twitter and asked him if he wanted to come on to the podcast. Really glad Darren asked him to come on and really glad that Mike came on. This is kind of a new thing for Mike. I think this is his first podcast that he's done, and phenomenal interview. This was really fun to go back and listen to, really fun to do. I love Mike's perspective on the world, so hopefully you guys are going to get something out of this interview too. To tell you a little bit about Mike in his own words, Mike is a father, a free-thinking young brother, and somebody tired of seeing the nation at odds with itself. So sit back, enjoy this one. If you do, consider becoming a member of the podcast. There, you're going to get instant access to the previous 28 episodes that we've got. And of course, you're going to get the bonus questions that go on afterwards. And then once we're done with those, we kind of have a little discussion about, how the experience was in answering the questions and going over it. And if you also want to record your own episode, you also get the ability to do that. So if there's somebody that you know, a friend, a family member, somebody that you want to hear answer these questions, well, we do too. I want to hear how they answer these questions. So go and do a podcast. This one that we did tonight, my microphone settings were completely off. Mike was on just a regular laptop, no earbuds. So you get to the quality that you need if you are interested in doing it. All right. So if you need any pointers, you need any help, hit us up. We are there to get you going. I really want to hear you guys do this. If you got an inclination to do something like this and you want to dip your toe into that podcasting water, well, what better way to do it in a way that you can help improve and enrich other people's minds and give them access to some wisdom that we're all just lacking right now in the world. All right, enjoy the interview. Thank you for being part of 13 Questions. I will see you guys around. So today we are going to be answering 13 questions with Mike Leathers. Mike is joining us here. He's a pretty cool guy. I'm really interested in doing this interview. As soon as we're done with the interview, we're going to go into some bonus questions and then maybe talk about the process of, what it was like, thinking about the questions or answering them.
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. You ready to go, Mike?
Always. Let's do it.
Awesome. Question 1. What was the best advice ever given to you, and would you modify it today?
The best advice that I ever got came to me when I was I think I was 18 years old, and it was, you live by 4 basic rules: what you will do, what you won't do, what you can do, and what you can't do. I mean, me being the person that I am, there's pretty much nothing that I can't do beyond like physical limitations and everything like that. So, I mean, as long as you know what you will and you won't do, it just keeps you honest, in my opinion. So I've always just lived by that. So whenever I get like any situations, like I've already thought about this, you know what I mean? It's like, I know I'm not going to do this, so I don't even need to, there's no extra thought involved,
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, definitely biggest piece of advice. And I mean, I wouldn't modify it at all. I wouldn't change anything about that, because before I got that advice, I was living kind of reckless. And I mean, even a little bit afterwards. But once I really sat down and thought about it, I was like, there's no better way to live. I know I'm going to be honest, so I know I can't lie.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that. It's just simple stuff. The simple stuff. You just apply it to that little scenario, and you pretty much get all the answers about yourself.
What was the most important lesson you learned from your parents?
Honestly, to stay with it. Whatever you start, you got to finish. If you start it, you got to finish it. And if you start something, you got to put your all into it, or else you might as well just not be doing it. So I didn't always take that advice or use it the way I should have. So now that I'm older and I can see the world in a different way. It's like if I start something, please believe I'm going balls to the wall and we're gonna get it done. Simple as that. Because I want to be that example. Because I got little ones, you know what I mean, and I want them to look up and be like, "Oh, Daddy started that. Well, he finished it too, and it came out bomb." So, or maybe I failed, and if I failed, it's like, well, he learned his lesson and he tried again. Or he's got to be that example. So
You'll never know if you don't know.
Go all out.
What book has been most influential on your life and why?
I saw this question and I started laughing. You ever heard of a book called I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell?
No, but it sounds like a really good book already just based on the title.
Man, I read that book when I was like 17, dude. And it was just so honest and just vulgar and it was just perfect. And I was like, this dude knows how to live his life. And I mean, he made a bunch of mistakes throughout the book, but at the end, he was able to he hit rock bottom and he figured it out. You know what I mean? So it was just like that one. It's just do what you want to do, basically. You only get one life, send it.
Yeah. You can only you can walk away with regrets.
Exactly. I'd rather have regrets than have sit there wishing I had done something. At least I know that I did it and it might not have worked out.
What daily habits or rituals do you have, and do you recommend them to other people?
I try to learn something new every day. Every day. That's the biggest thing. And if I hear something and it doesn't sound right, I make sure to write it down, or I listen for new words. I try to gain as much knowledge as I can within 24 hours. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If I'm awake, I'm hanging out with my daughter, I'm looking at her, I'm wondering why she's doing what she's doing, then I'm reading parent forums, and I'm always just trying to absorb as much information as possible. I would say that's the best thing we can all do, you know?
Nice. So obviously you recommend that to other people. Pay attention to your surroundings, learn everything you can. Don't be complacent.
Definitely don't be complacent. Definitely don't be complacent. And I'm big into EDC, like the everyday carry stuff. So that all ties in together. You know what I mean? Just staying aware, staying alert. My girlfriend thinks I'm paranoid, and I'm like, hey, at least I know that this dude just walked in the room. You didn't even see him. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, what's EDC stand for?
Everyday carry. It's pretty much when you wake up, the things that you take with you every day that could potentially save your life or get you out of a situation, or just tools and things like that. I got my wallet, my pocket knife, chapstick, lighter, multi-tool. I carry my gun with me. I'm on vacation now, so I didn't want to bring it. Well, I mean, I have it. I'm just not going to carry it down here. But when I'm in New Hampshire, I carry all the time. That's the biggest piece to me because I like living. And if something happens, I want to make sure I can keep doing that. You know what I mean?
Well, I always look at it as, if something happens, you could always wish you had it. But If you have self-control, you never have to use it. So It's a tool that's there. And think about it this way. If you go out, camping, there could be a bear. You're going to need to defend yourself. Well, there's sometimes crazy wild bear people out there that.
Exactly.
So yeah, I'm in the boat with you on that.
Yes, sir.
If I were to ask your best friend, what is the one thing they would say you need to work on the most and why?
What would Darren say? He'd probably say I need to work on my attitude, and probably tell me I need to care. I need to care about the little things a little bit more, because I don't know. I don't get worked up or anything, but I typically don't if something small, really, really minuscule happens, and the average person would freak out or be a little worried or something, I typically just don't even, it doesn't faze me anymore. I'm just oh, all right, whatever. Well, I can't change it. It happened. I can't, what do you want me to do? Why would I be mad about it? It's done. It is what it is. Let's move forward. We got to keep going, So he'd probably tell me to care about some stuff or something like that.
Yeah, that's a weird line though, because you can easily get overcome being on the opposite side where, you just can't function because you're constantly attacked with problems that, just eat up your mind space.
exactly. And that's how I used to be before. I mean, my girlfriend calls it the awakening. I mean, we can run with that, but I used to let like really little stuff just work me up, and I'd be stressed out and freaked out and just oh, it's like that's not a way to live, dude. Like you know, like why? What is that doing? What is all that extra negative emotion and
Mhm.
energy doing for you? And what comes from that? Absolutely nothing. You know what I mean? So we
Yeah,
don't do that
I
anymore.
like to think of it like there's a catastrophe, some solar cataclysm or some celestial, asteroidal event that's in coming. We know about it. There's, at that point, paying your bills doesn't matter.
Right.
If there's a natural disaster that attacks the entire planet, like biblical proportion type thing, well, nobody's going to care, about their credit card debt or, you're going to go help.
Exactly.
Like when you look at a natural disaster, people go and help their neighbor. They don't
Mhm.
look to see, who they are or, if there's a background check on them. And
Right.
so, yeah, I don't know. It's when I think about that, I put my mind in that situation, and then
Mhm.
all the stuff that wouldn't bother me in that situation, I try not to let me bother me now because I'm like, it's just a social construct. It's not really real in the grand scheme of things. It doesn't matter.
See, I agree with that 100% because in a way we are like there is I won't say, well, I mean, kind of a global catastrophe, but there's a definitely like a national catastrophe with like the division and just the hate that we see. It's everywhere. There's just hate, and it's like I gotta fix that. We somehow, some way, there needs to be more love, more positivity. So all that little shit, just whatever. Right now, we gotta fix this, and it's hard to try to fix something when you got it on TV, on the
Mm-hmm.
news, like it's everywhere. And it's just like, dude, this is the reason why nobody talks to their neighbors anymore. You know what I mean? Like, fuck that. That's not a way to live. Fuck that, dude.
Yeah, yeah. Nobody has block parties, and literally, like you said, nobody knows your neighbor. I mean, you probably know your neighbor's Wi-Fi, signal router name, but
Right.
you don't know who they are. You're like, is that Johnson? Oh, I guess his last name's Johnson.
Exactly. Sitting here using their Netflix and shit. Like, come on, dude. Like, go talk to that guy. Just you live next to him. Just go talk to him. If he doesn't want to talk to you, okay, you tried, whatever. You know what I mean? But try.
What are you most curious about?
Right now, like if we were talking like right now, the thing I'm most curious about is to see what happens with this next election. I really want to see what's going to go down because everybody talks about some shit happening every time, like, oh, Donald Trump's going to get elected, we're going to go to war. Like, yeah, all right. I think this election, because they let that pot boil and just kept stirring it and stirring it, and we can see like both sides, the extremes of both sides have become the norm. So I think when this election happens, if it doesn't go either way, that like something is gonna happen, and that kind of makes me nervous. I'm just like, all right, we just wait. You know what I mean? Wait till November, see what happens. But I got a feeling something's gonna happen.
Yeah,
But
there's always a November surprise of some kind, but
right,
yeah, there's certainly a what do you call it, like a kettle pot, or it's boiling over. It's like you said, it's
hmm
it's more primed to explode than at any other time.
than any other time. It's like the culture is literally like the fuse on this culture is just like ticking away, and it's like it's gonna pop.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
gonna pop.
And it's disgusting because, you see the left, the right, all the political sides using it, and,
Mhm.
the
That
media and the
identity
social.
politics, dude.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. It's like you said, nobody talks to their neighbor. It's all online, division lines. The only way to get clicks on Twitter is, for things that people are going to want to click, which is angry, upset, not.
right.
So yeah, it's strange when people actually go, like you probably hear this, Jordan Peterson talks about this, that online he's vilified and hated, and you'd think he was, this terrible person.
hmm
But anytime he goes to a lecture or goes out in public,
They
aside
love
from a
him.
couple incidents, yeah, everybody's nice. And it's literally two different realities.
Yeah, and I think the people like I think like the left and the right, because I'm not gonna sit here and play favorites like they don't use identity politics, because politics itself comes from identity politics. You have to draw a line and give people two sides to stand on. So it's just like misdirection. But
Yep.
it's like I think especially with the left. I know the right does it, but I know the left does it. Like they create those profiles and they get in there and they stir shit up. You know what I mean? They'll be the opposite person of who they are. Like I'm gonna make a MAGA profile and I'm just gonna like just stir shit up, or I'll make a liberal profile and I know they do it. We have to know they do it with all the bots and stuff. Like the right probably does it too, but it's like the left does it and they're good at it. It works, and it's like it's not working the right way though. It's terrible, terrible.
Yeah, at the end, it's just, people's ideas that are fighting the war instead of, actual change and, a person's credentials and
Right.
morals. I mean, that's completely gone out the window when, you understand they're all crooks.
Oh yeah, for sure. Definitely. Definitely. I don't think there's anybody that's like that high up that's not tied into something. You know what I mean?
What was one of the more embarrassing or humiliating experiences of your life?
Only a few people know this story. So when I was a freshman in high school, tried out for football. I made the varsity team. I was kind of just like second string. So I'd come in like towards the end of the game, or if we had a really high lead, I started on JV. So we were playing a game. It was I don't remember the name. It was the Jewish holiday that happens, and I think it happens on a Friday. I don't know the name of it. I don't want to say something that sounds stupid, but so our games were normally on Friday, but we had the game on Thursday, and like really tough game. We won by a field goal, and I'm on the sidelines, and we win. Everybody's excited. We're celebrating. I jump up, and I jumped kind of high, came down and tore my right ACL.
Oh,
man. It like I felt it. I like my foot hit the ground and I felt it. My leg just like popped, and I was just like, "Oh, all right." Kind of just like took a knee. Everybody's in the end zone, and I'm just on the sideline with my head down on a knee. Somebody probably thought I was crying or something. I'm sitting there and I'm just like, "Oh, dude, what do I do?" My mom comes to the bleachers and she's like, "Mike, are you okay? Okay." I'm like, "Mom, go. Don't make anybody notice. Like, I'm good." Because nobody saw me over there. I was over there for probably like 5 minutes and nobody noticed because they were all celebrating and stuff. And so I go to try to stand up and walk over there, and I literally just fell over to my left. And I was just like, "Oh, okay, so this is bad." Man, I go up to the trainer. He ices my knee. I'm like, "All right, cool." He doesn't know what's wrong with it. My mom calls the doctor. It takes like a week. I practiced that whole week. Went to practice. I was fine. Had no idea I had a torn ACL.
Wow.
I didn't know for a week. I went to the doctor that Friday and they told me I had to miss the whole rest of the season. I'm on crutches and stuff because I jumped too high celebrating. Not even playing in the game, dude. I look back at that all the time, just like, dude,
did your buddies razz you about it after that every day in the locker room?
I think the worst person was my mom, dude. Like, she would not let me live that down for a while.
That's good, though. I mean, it sounds terrible and it's embarrassing, but it's funny now, which means that, it toughens you up so that if stuff like that happens again, it's like, listen, I'm human. I shit my pants or whatever,
Exactly. I haven't shit my pants in a while, but I mean, I'm not going to lie and say it hasn't happened. You know what I mean? Go ahead and risk it one time. You knew it was hot when it hit the butthole. You shouldn't have pushed that out.
Well, maybe this will go into this. What is your greatest fear and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, no, I mean, I've never really been scared to shit my pants in public or anything. If it happens, it happens. But my biggest fear for the longest time was flying. I hated flying. Hated it. Like, I could do takeoff, I could do landing, but once you're up in the air and that turbulence, like, you know what I mean? They say it's the safest way to fly. And I mean to travel, and I know it is. But it's just something about being 30,000 something feet in the air, and then you just feel the plane drop a little. It's like, oh, okay.
Well, and there's nothing you can do. Like, at least in a car or a bus, you might be able to jump out. Like, there's still like slim options for, decisions. You're in the sky. It's like, okay, if I jump out, what next?
Yeah, right. I can't fucking fly. I'm not a bird. You know what I mean? Is this that moment where evolution kicks in and I got some like hidden talent I don't know about or something? Like,
exactly.
But I overcame it. I flew down to Virginia last year by myself to come to my brother's graduation, and I just got up in the air and it was like, dude, if something happens, it happens. You know what I mean? It's just like you can't control it. You have to go to this boy's graduation. You're gonna go. You're gonna get on the plane. So once you get up in the air, I mean, just relax. Just breathe. If it happens, it happens. You know what I mean? It's just don't freak out, which has been the biggest thing. Just don't freak out. Just breathe.
What quality do you most admire in a man, and why?
I say, like, if I'm talking to a dude, I'd like to be frank. You know what I mean? Like, don't sugarcoat anything. Like, just serve it. You know what I mean? Just whatever you gotta say it. You know what I mean? I'm a grown man. I can handle it. You know. Just I hate when people try to sugarcoat it and make it sound nice. And it's like, do you think I'm like a punk or something? You think I can't handle a conversation? Like, don't do that. I'm not what you see on Twitter and like on TV and shit. Like, we can talk. I don't care. And why? Just because they tell you, you know what I mean, that people are sensitive and that PC culture and all that bullshit. Like, nah, you don't have to do that.
You'd rather somebody tell you something, even if it's going to hurt or make you think in a way that's uncomfortable, because it's their truth. And at least this album, it gives you their perspective, and it gives you a perspective that, hey, I didn't see it that way. Yeah, you're kind of right. Some people don't like that. Some people, they just want to be told, all the good things to make them feel good.
No, I don't like that. That doesn't do anything, because in the moment that you do hear something you don't want to hear, you're gonna break down. I think that's where that whole snowflake melting thing came from. It's like they were told and coddled and participation trophies and all this shit, and then you get an F, or you fail, or you don't get the job, and now you don't know what to do. That's why, like, when raising my little one, the one, like, I make sure to tell her no, even if I don't need to tell her no. Like, I just so she's used to it, you know what I mean? So that way it's not as detrimental to her, like, upbringing and everything. Like, you're gonna hear no, it's part of life, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we live in a product of not having dangerous predators out there, there used to be real skills and values in passing of knowledge and listening, and now you don't have to worry that your family's going to get jacked by some sort of natural event or animal or
right. You know what I mean? I don't have to worry about like animals and stuff. I mean, where I live is not like the best place. So it's like, okay, like, it might happen, but we're ready for that. You stay prepared. That EDC, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Ready, yeah. For anything, whether it be, a fire and you need to get out of the building, or, be somebody's dog that's running to you.
Yeah, exactly. That's another big fear. I'm deathly afraid of dogs, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I got like nibbled when I was younger, and I was like, from that moment, I was just like, I don't trust y'all. People say, oh, my dog won't bite. I was like, oh, I didn't know you spoke dog. Like, how do you know that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The scary thing about dogs, and I'm the same as you, I had an experience where I didn't get attacked, but I got charged by a bunch of pit bulls, and I slammed the door in time to keep them from attacking me, which was scary enough that it set in. And dogs sense fear. They sense that adrenaline, that heartbeat, whatever it is in that sixth sense. So when I'm looking at a dog, it's like, I'm not worried about you, because if you get into that mode, I'm worried about controlling that in myself, because with people and other threats, I have rational things, but I can't get into your mind perfect. So I'm worried. And then I get scared. My heart rate goes, and I'm like, man, you see that now? Okay, this is done. I'm bad.
Exactly. Because with me, it's the same thing. Like, my heart starts pumping. I start sweating, like, actually, like, sweating. I get the glisten. It's like, I know this dog knows that I'm scared of it. Like, he just won. You know what I mean? I don't even want to be in this room anymore. I'm going to go stand outside. Just let me know when you're done. It's cool. Like, if you're not going to put the dog away, I'll just go stand outside. Like, I'm good with that. And I probably won't come back. You can come to my house next time.
Yeah. Who were or are your role models, and why? Could also be just people that are really been a positive influence on your life.
Two biggest ones. My grandfather, for sure. That man, rest his soul. He was the true embodiment of just like self-sufficiency. Do it yourself. He was a carpenter. He could landscape. He's a plumber. Fix your car. Anything you needed him to do, he would do it himself. And if he had to call somebody, please believe he was going to be right there next to you watching you fix it, because he's not calling twice. Like, and that's who I try to like resemble and move. I try to move just like him. You know what I mean? So he goes at the top of the list. And then I would have my mom, and then my dad. Those are like my big three. that just like personal role models and influences, you know what I mean? Just like people I can talk to and stuff like that. But if we were going to talk about like people that have influence on like social media and to try to like make a change in the world, um, you got Maj Toure. I love what Coleon Noir is doing. I don't like his ties to the NRA, but I like what he was doing, educating and just talking about guns and how it's like a direct violation of the Second Amendment to impose any kind of law. Because I mean, that's what it is. And I'm a big gun dude, so those two guys. I like Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's fire. You know what I mean? That his whole mindset, the way he moves, and the fact that he just knows so much. Like every time I watch an episode, he starts talking about something. I'm just like, God, how the fuck do you know all this, dude? Like, what? You have a chip in your brain or something? So Jordan Peterson, I like the way he's standing up for what he believes in. You know what I mean? Because it just seems like common sense what he's doing. I don't want to go too deep into that, but
he articulates himself well, that if you sit down and listen to an extended conversation with him, if you don't see his side from a rational point where you can say this guy should exist and be able to do what he does, to me, it says much more about who you are than him.
Exactly. And people try to shut him down. And I'm like, let this man talk. It might help you. You know what I mean? Just listen to what he's saying.
Yeah, or even just think about it this way. If he's that terrible, or whoever it is, any person, if their truth is that bad, let it stand on its own legs against your truth, any truth,
right.
Things that have more value and solidity stand. The things that, don't quite have it, don't.
Right, exactly. It's like if you really hate him that much and what he's saying is shit, like let him say it. And if it's really shit, you know what I mean, it won't get as much of a pull as you're fearing it might. You know what I mean? I think that's what it is. I think people are so scared that if they present something and somebody else presents it, it might trump what they're saying. Like, oh, I'm gonna lose. Like, dude, it's not a loss. It's just like take it, absorb it, hear it, and try to learn from it. Try to apply it to what you're doing. And if you truly just disagree with it, then fuck it. You disagree with it and move on. You know what I mean? Like that's my biggest thing. I'm gonna keep preaching. I'm gonna harp on that. Like people get too worked up on like little shit. It's just like it's a conversation. It's a two-way street. This is what it's supposed to be.
Oh yeah, and you and I don't have to agree on anything, on big things, crazy things, because in the grand scheme of things, man, what is right? Like where's the ultimate rule book that where it says where the moral compass points?
Right. Like who does that? And that's like the thing with like politics. It's like people like get so worked up and like they just like die hard. And I'm like, dude, there's gonna come a time where that person switches out, and then what are you gonna do? Like, are you just gonna change up how you get down? Like, no, dude. Like, figure out what works for you, and then go from there. And if somebody disagrees with you, let them disagree, man. It's cool. That doesn't mean you can't be friends or you can't hang out. I mean, if that's what you choose to do, I mean, that's gonna suck in the long run. But if somebody disagrees with it, fuck it, whatever. Okay, cool. But we don't talk about that anymore. You know what I mean? Or we do talk about it. Whatever.
Broken clocks are right twice a day. People say crazy shit. Even if there's a religious book out there you don't agree with in fundamental levels, read it, learn from it. There's everything has, good and value and something that you can take from it. You don't have to take it all, but it really angers me when people, decide just to leave things on the table and not even look at it. And
it's just that's not the way to go. I'm gonna be honest with you. I like that. I hadn't heard that before. Broken clock is right twice a day. I like that shit. I'm just gonna let you know that was fire. That was dope. I'm actually gonna write that one. Yeah, man.
All right, I think you'll like this question. This is the one that still gets my brain churning whenever I read it. What institution of society or structural aspect of modern life would you change given the chance?
Race.
In what way?
Because, I'm sorry?
I said in what way?
So like when a baby's born, they don't know race is not a thing to them. You know what I mean? Nobody's born and like knows race. I think it's taught. Like obviously we see people of different shades and different colors, but it's like, if we could get rid of that and just see other people as human beings, I know that's like a far-fetched like thing to think, but if we could do it, I swear a lot of shit would get fixed. Like a lot of stuff, a lot of like cultural differences. And like, dude, at the end of the day, we're still people. I tweeted it the other day. I was like, we're gonna need the fucking aliens to come down and start zapping shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're not gonna care if somebody's black, white, Spanish. It's gonna be like, okay, we're humans. That's the enemy. Let's go. You know what I mean? Because it's so bad. It's terrible. The whole race thing is just, and it's not. I guess it's not. It's not real. It's just like somebody came up with it and decided, all right, we're gonna use this as part of that identity politics. It's like we can use this to separate people and make certain people do what we want, and just it's just a tactic in my eyes.
Yeah, it's certainly something that's been co-opted.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah, to me, it's there's more cultural differences. Yes, you know, certain people do things differently, but that's, you know, their heritage, how they grew up, you know, their traditions. But to, you know, tack that on to, you know, skin color or certain types of genetics, it gets squirrely, it gets weird, because then it's like you're defining a person by something that they can't change, that they inherited it, they're stuck to that forever.
Exactly.
It doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
And that's kind of like how we came. That's how this whole thing, that's what brought us together, because it was the tweet. And I was just like I wasn't like, I didn't think anything of it. I'm sitting here tweeting. I just made another Twitter like maybe like 4 months ago. And I'm sitting here just tweeting. And then I watched a video where Marianne Williamson was in this church. And she had this congregation of white people, like apology praying over like it was like 6 black people. And I was like, oh my God, what is this? And it literally, I was just like, what the fuck, dude? Like, are you just going to make everybody that's white feel bad for something? Like, is that what we're doing? Because in a way, if we're going to go by the technical term of racism, that's what that is. You know what I mean? Just because you're white, you're tied to this, and now I got to be mad at you. Like, no, dude, that's not going to fix anything. So my tweet was literally, dear white people, I love you. I love all of you. Do not apologize for something you didn't do. Awesome. Sincerely, Mike. Sent it. Put my phone down, dude, and then shit went crazy. And I was just like, all right, cool. I'm getting a lot of love and support. But then I'm reading the comments, and it's just people saying, yeah, you know, I get called all kinds of names, and people are always mad at me, and I don't know why. And it's like what the fuck? What kind of world are we living in, dude? Like, what is that? Like, if somebody's racist, yes, that's shitty. It's shitty. They're allowed to think whatever the fuck they want to think. I'm not going to sit here and say we should get rid of racists. Like, no, you want to be racist, you go be racist. I'm not going to tell you not to. But I'm not going to sit here and, because you're white, look at the dude next to you and just call him a racist. Like, no, that's not going to fix anything. You know what I mean? That's literally just like stirring that pot even further. And now we've got the MAGA hats, and if you wear a MAGA hat, that makes you racist. I'm like, what? The MAGA hat is racist? The hat is racist. What did that hat do to you, dude? Like, why? And I get what's tied to it, but it's just, it doesn't, I don't know. Everything is racist nowadays. And it really makes me mad. Really makes me mad.
Yeah. And it's crazy because you see it popping up in the MSM heavily, but you know, now I live in Florida, so I'm in a very eclectic, you know, place. There's tons of people around. Mm-hmm. The stuff that happens in Portland could never and would never happen here, but I just don't see the racism anywhere in my personal life, my personal, you know, friendships. It's so strange. And then you turn on the news and it's like, man, they're stoking a really dangerous fire.
Really dangerous fire.
Like, yeah, something's gonna, you said it before, something's gonna happen. And I don't know. It's scary that the left and the right seem to be okay with it. I don't even understand it anymore.
They need it to happen. All right, so I'm a firm believer that there's a bigger hand at play, and they need something very drastic to happen in order to instill what they want, because they know that if even if we're like butting heads and we're at odds, we're all still conscious enough of what's going on. But if this was to clash, everything else would go out the window, and they would be able to come in and be like, all right, so this is how everybody's going to do this. That's what I think is going to happen, you know, and they stoke this fire, dude, and they just stoke it and stoke it. They're going to make money on it. That's why. In my opinion, you know, I can't say that's a fact, but that's what I think. You got to be careful, because people hold on to these words, man. Like, you know, somebody somewhere is going to hear this and be like, oh, he said it. It's got to be true. He's lying. Like, dude, breathe.
One thing you said earlier that I really like is, do you just wish people would just look at people as people? And that's what I see, because I watched that same video that you watched that you tweeted on. And, you know, it's kind of like, okay, so push it onto the white people. Well, what about the Native Americans? What about those people? What about the people before them in the history that we don't know? How about we just forget all that,
Yeah.
start where we are, and just treat each other great. Try to do the right thing. Try to get out of this bullshit where one person has more value for another. You look at the 9/11 relief fund and certain people are getting this amount of money, another person gets
Right.
this money. It's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Aren't we all equal? And I don't know, when I start going down those roads, yeah, I don't understand that racial conflict, but
At all.
I guess
At all.
that's the weird world we're
It's
living
like talking about the 9/11, like the resources and how they're doing that. I saw something on, I think it was on Twitter. I saw something on Twitter and it was a link, and it was this article where the dude was explaining that like back in the day, the government used to put a value on like a human life. And I was like, I mean, I understand it. I guess I get it because the government handles the finances and stuff, but I'm just like, how did you come up with this number? How do you know that this life is only worth this much, or should like what, how did you do this? Who gets to make that kind of decision? You know what I mean? And like, I guess they stopped doing it, but it's like that whole thought behind, I couldn't do something like that. I couldn't look at you and tell you your worth. Like, that's shitty. It's really shitty.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something we live in. I think of, people I know, they're injured at work, they, hurt their shoulder, hurt their arm, can't move their arm, basically makes you immobile to so many jobs. They give you, you're 6% disabled. You get 6% of your pay for, X amount of months, and that's it. Wipe your hands clean. And I'm like, what kind of bullshit is that? Like,
Right.
Who's making these arbitrary decisions and deciding that that's the compensation you deserve for your life? It's weird that kind of bean counting is just it's a thing we deal with. It's a thing we understand. You're paying your insurance and you're going to get fucked over when you try to, cash it in.
Right. It's like, if we could implement, like, I teach it to my daughter. I know they taught it to me when I was a kid, like the golden rule. It seems like It's like something we forgot. You do unto others the way you want them to do unto you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to sit here and fuck you over if you get hurt or something, because if I get hurt, I don't want to get fucked over. I'm going to do the best that I can and make sure you get all the help you need in every scenario in life. Because there was this time, me and my girl caught a flat. We were in Maryland. It was like a 7-lane highway. And we're on the side of the road. The cars are zooming by. The car's rocking. I'm trying to change the tire. And I'm literally just like, we had one of those shitty jacks. I'm like, dude, if I can get a better jack, if somebody stops and they have a good jack, we'll be out of here in 10 minutes. Nobody stopped. We stood there for 45 minutes. And I'm like, I will never drive by somebody like this. And then, I said it to somebody in one of my classes, and she was like, what if you pull over and they want to do something bad to you? And I was like, well, see, that's where the Second Amendment comes in. And I got my gun. So if you try some fuck shit, there we go. But it allows, like, I'm still going to try to help. Like, oh,
well, that goes into your being aware of your environment. You're going to make sure that you're prepared going into a situation like that. You're going to be observing. You're not going to put yourself in extra danger, and you're going to have the tools. But see, this is what's crazy. So you protecting yourself and having that more aggressive edge to handle situations in real life gives you the capacity to help somebody in need where other people don't have the tools and may have a legitimate reason to fear. So, exactly. I mean, it makes, having the capacity for violence, for, not just as a fill-in word, doesn't mean you have to use it, but it can give you so much more capacity for compassion.
Exactly. And I think a perfect example of somebody like this that is like exemplified that exact message is he's on YouTube, John Lavelle, the Warrior Poet Society. I watched one of his videos and he said pretty much the same thing. He was like, I'm compassionate when I need to be, as gentle as a kitten. But if the time comes, I'm going to unleash a fucking dragon on you. And I'm like, yes, I love that shit. You're soft with your family when you need to be. But if you try some fuck shit, dude, you're gonna awake the beast. And I don't need to let it out. He's not there for the most part. But if he needs to be, you're gonna get him. Simple as that. People always think that like you're fucking trigger happy because you have a gun. It's like, I'm not trigger happy, but at the same time, I love my life and I'm going home to my daughter if somebody tries some fuck shit. Like, I know that much.
Well, it's strange too, because, obviously until something's happened to you, you never know it, but I've been in a few situations where I've been carrying where I never had to use it, but it put me in a sense of control where I knew how to navigate the situation. I had options
Right.
as opposed to I can't even turn my back and I'm in danger. And so other
Right.
people around me. And, once you're there and you understand the leverage that it gets and you know that you have the self-control to evaluate your situation, to me, it almost seems reckless if you can do that, to not to, because if the situation comes up and you could have, man, it's the
You
real
should
world.
have.
It's not like the movies, crazy shit
Right.
happens and nobody can predict it.
Right. That's it. They're called accidents for a reason. You know what I mean? Nobody plans that shit. I didn't wake up this morning like, oh, I'm gonna get fucking mugged today. Like,
Oh yeah.
nobody does that.
Like
You know
I
what I
don't
mean?
think
Shit
about
happens.
that. And then, like 2 blocks away from my house, there's a lady who a guy gets out of his car with a chainsaw, starts it up. She walks to work every day, attacks her with it, cuts off her hand, cuts into her chest, and then goes back to his car, puts a chainsaw in his trunk, and sits and waits for the
What
police. And it's like, what
the
the fuck?
fuck?
So it's like, if I see that shit going on,
You're getting
well,
shot.
yeah, like you can't have people like that in society. And what a terrible thing to have happen to a person. And that's when I start to think, I'm like, you know what? This stuff can happen anywhere. And I'd never want to be in that situation. But,
Oh,
if
shit.
somebody had been in that situation, able to stop it, then they are a hero beyond heroes.
Beyond heroes. That's
So yeah,
crazy.
that's the
You
weird
said you're in
stuff
Florida?
where, yeah, Florida, of course.
Holy shit. Yeah, I was like, holy fuck, dude. That shit doesn't happen anywhere but Florida. At least not to my knowledge. You know what I mean? What the fuck? Good God, dude. That's crazy, man. That's scary. And then that story alone should be the basis behind why do you have a gun? Because shit like that happens. It does happen. What are the chances? I don't care about the chances because if I have it, the chances don't matter because I'm ready. You know what I mean?
No,
Like, fuck that.
exactly. Yeah. And, we're probably in a society that is, not to throw the police under the bus, but there's a lot of shootings of unarmed people and people that should never be shot. Because I'm in a situation, I understand if you have a gun, if you put your finger on the trigger, you have the capacity to pull it. If you point that gun at somebody, if I point my gun at anything, any target, I intend the gun to fire and go off. If I then put my finger on the trigger, I intend to fire it. And I never understand how anybody gets into a situation where they have a gun pointed at somebody, they have their finger on the trigger, and they pull it. Because to me, you've already crossed all the lines. Your decision-making should all be tied to doing that. And so, yeah, it bothers me that we've got the stigma of things like that because, look, it's got safeties on it. It's not going to go off unexpectedly in your pocket.
Right.
So you are in control.
Right. If you follow the 4 laws of gun ownership, of handling a firearm, you'll be fine. You know what I mean? Get a good holster so the trigger's not exposed so nothing snags it. But the stigma behind it. And it's crazy because I was born in the 90s, so I didn't know that they would sell guns in magazines and the magazine books that would come to the house and you just get them sent to you. I didn't know that was a thing. I just got into guns. And now I'm looking at that and then where we are today and I'm just like, dude, you've made the gun the bad guy when the gun won't do anything until somebody picks it up.
Yep. Well,
it's you change the whole narrative behind guns. Guns, literally, guns are the only reason America's here. They needed these to stop the Britons. Guns are good. People are bad.
Yeah. Look, wars are fought with guns and missiles and tanks. They were also fought with swords and rocks and sticks and fists. So, it's merely an extension of an idea to enact your will.
Right.
And yeah, it's easy and it's violent, but
sometimes it's necessary.
Well, and look, the pool's been peed in. Try getting all the guns out of the pool. I don't think you're going to be able to do it. So,
No.
At the very least, we're in a situation where we've got laws on the books that aren't being used and utilized to properly make these things better, to catch more things. And we're trying to stack up more and villainize something that just really hasn't got a fair shake at, trying to regulate itself as it should be, which is, it's just I don't know. I'm rambling.
No, it's cool. Send it, man. If we're going to talk, we had this, we drove down in Virginia from New Hampshire yesterday night. And me and my girl were talking. I was like, if they were going to make any kind of gun law that I could stand behind, It would have to be something where they make sure that anybody that buys a gun has taken the necessary safety courses.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only one. You know what I mean? The background check, yeah, it's already there. I get that. That's cool. But I don't understand why that hasn't already been done. You know, it's like they don't want to. They talk about things, but they don't really want to fix it because, like, we just sat here and we both agree on that, and I'm sure like 99% of all gun owners would agree to that. Like, so why don't we just do it?
Yeah, that's one of the programs that the NRA has that I really agree with, and it's their safety training of firearms for children. I know when I was a kid, you know, before you could get a license for hunting, you had to go through that, and it was way more extensive and way longer and thorough with that than going to get a concealed weapons license. Concealed weapons license was basically, you know, an hour in the range, which is not enough. Like, no. I watched the news on, I forget the state, but they were doing teacher training teachers to carry firearms, and the police were training them. And I'm watching the videos and I'm like, she's firing that gun and she's got her hand over the slide. You keep doing that, you're going to slice or burn yourself. This is not good. Like, we're missing basic safety training here. I'm really concerned about like what's going on, because you hit it. You got to be safe with the weapon, because the vast majority of incidents are people hitting targets they're not intending to hit, or misfires.
Misfires, or somebody goes to clean it, and something like simple shit. Simple stuff. And I didn't grow up around guns or anything like that. Like, I got into guns, I'm 26, so what was I, like 23? And then from the moment I had it, it was like, I need to know everything about this because I understand what this can do. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, if something goes wrong, somebody could die. I don't want that. So I need to know everything that I can know about this and make sure that nothing like that ever happens. I got a safe. I keep it away from my daughter. She can't get to it. You know, if when it's on me, it's in the holster. It's never not in the holster. And I carry with one in the chamber. So it's like, I can't take it off and then put it down somewhere. Like, extra thought has to go into those kind of things. If you're going to carry something like that, has so much power, you know? So that's something that, like, I like a Maj Toure. That's why he's one of my guys. Like, I appreciate him because he's going to the places where they try to make sure you can't get a gun. He's making sure, like, look, you can get a gun. This is how you do it legally. Go through the process. But before you do that, you have to know the safety. You have to know. And he's teaching it to people that will probably never hear this anywhere, you know? So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that they need to do a ton more on proficiency testing. You know, by the time you get into firing a firearm, if you're going to carry it, you know, look at the very least, you know, like 30, 45 feet, you need to be able to do chest or head shots. Like, I'm not comfortable with somebody wildly firing where you're going to have pass through or overshots. And it just, that's it. It's a terrible thing, but, you know, again, safety. If everybody that carried was properly trained and certified, then I think there would be a vast reduction in the amount of shootings that we have.
Yeah, I agree completely. Because that's like a big thing with, like, when they do like drive-bys and shit. That's why you get so many other people hit. Because it's like, you don't know how to fucking shoot, dude. You know what I mean? You just have a gun. It's like, oh, I can pull the trigger. Like, yeah, that's gonna send a bullet out, but you don't know where it's going. You know, and that's like the biggest thing. Like, when you aim at something, you have to know what you're aiming at and what's behind it. You know, like for me, like, I've got rounds for when I'm in the house and I've got rounds for when I'm not in the house. Like, so if I shoot something in the house, I don't want it going through the drywall, through the neighbor's house and shit like that. Like, you got simple safety stuff, you know? If they started teaching that, like you said, I think a lot of those numbers would start going down. Here's
another crazy thing, you know, not to you know, spend the whole episode on the topic, but, you know, people always assume humans. You know, I've been in a situation with a dog, and, you know, it's like, you know, I mean this afterwards, where I, you know, rescued somebody, didn't have to use my gun, but I pulled it out because there was a dog ready to attack two people walking, and it's like, man, good luck trying to negotiate that situation out, you know, and, you know, what are the police going to do? You know, so yeah, I don't know. We've nerfed the world, and people are just, you know, scared to deal with the reality that sometimes, you know, you got to handle things on your own, and, you know, your fists aren't always enough.
You're right. And I think that's part of, like, another thing, like, people are just too dependent. Nobody can take care of themselves anymore. Certain people can, but the majority of people they depend on somebody else to take your. Like, I'll call the police if he's in front of you and he's charging towards you, and you pull out your phone and you get on the phone with the police. How long is it going to take him to get there? Then what? It's like you got to be able to take care of you when you need to, and other people. Like you said, you see somebody else getting attacked by a dog. It's like, okay, well, because I'm prepared and I understand, I can help you.
Yep.
Because it's just like that.
Well, yeah. Look, that's what we charge the police with doing. They're there trained, to handle situations and have, the tools to do so. I don't know. So, question number 12, Mr. Mike.
Let's do it.
What is the most courageous thing you have ever done in your life, or most courageous thing you have ever seen?
Most courageous thing I've ever done or seen. And that doesn't count like videos and stuff like that, right?
The way that I look at this is it's something that impacted you, that stuck with you. Because when I think of a courageous thing, like when I see it, like it elicits something inside me that like I either reverberate with or have a hard time with, because I'm like, I don't know if I could do that in that situation. But that's just me. So for me, I wouldn't restrict it.
Okay. There's a video of this mom. She's standing with her kid, and there's a bunch of other parents standing around with their kids. And this guy comes out of nowhere, and he's got a gun pointed on the parents, and he's trying to rob them. And he doesn't notice her, and she does what she needs to do, dude. And she pulls out her gun, and she puts him down. And I'm like, that's what I'm talking about, man. Because who knows what would have happened with this guy. That could have been a really, really ugly situation. But because you were prepared and because you knew that this could go bad, you had to be the aggressor, And she handled her business. And that right there sets the tone for everything that I believe in regards to like guns and stuff. You know what I mean? So that would probably be the most courageous thing.
And that's hugely courageous. I mean, being able to make a decision like that in a split second and be composed enough to accurately, do it without making the situation worse. Because if you fail,
Right.
Situation could get drastically worse at that point.
Exactly.
And then there's a lot of things she's got to be thinking about: the kids, the people around, the impact. I mean, look, your kids are going to see it. There's all these things that would flash into my mind, things going on behind, and
Right.
that's courage. That's like true courage to still do it and do it fast.
Do it fast and get it done. Do it right. You know what I mean? Not you pulled it out and you missed, or you hit somebody across the street. Like, no, you pulled it out, put shots on target, put him down, took his gun, separated everybody, moved the kids away. Like, she handled business, dude. And I was like, hell yeah, shorty. That's what I'm talking about, man.
Yep. Yeah. But again, if you needed the police, how does that situation get handled? I'd guess way worse if they're there on time.
Exactly.
What rule do you have for yourself that you never break, and why do you think it's important?
I always love myself. That's my rule. 100%. No matter what I do, no matter what somebody says to me, what happens, what I see, what I absorb, it does not change the love I have for myself. Because I came from a place where I didn't care about myself. You know what I mean? And in my eyes, that's like, okay, well, you don't love yourself. Because when you love something, you care about it. If you don't care about it, it doesn't matter to you. And it's like, for a while, just the way I was living, like, I didn't care about myself. And it's like, it took a while. It took a long time, a deep depression, rock bottom. And then when I found it, I was like, this is the greatest feeling I've ever had. Because you can get love from other people, but at the end of the day, if you don't love yourself, it doesn't matter. So
what was the trigger for that?
Man, the one that did it was when my youngest daughter was born. Because when she was a baby, I was still going through it. Like, I was still doing looking back, it was just absolutely stupid, unnecessary shit, just stupid shit. and I'm still doing it and still doing it. And then she started getting older. And I started noticing that she was watching and how like aggressively she was watching what I was doing and the way I'd move. And then she started mimicking. And I was like, dog, you can't live like that. You can't do it. You know what I mean? And like I have two other daughters, but with that whole situation, they like I wasn't there in their lives. So I didn't have that face-to-face personal. I didn't get to see it. So when she was born, I was like, oh, and that made me stop, think. It's like, why have you been doing these things? Like, why don't you care? Like, what's wrong? Like, and then I had to do a whole lot of like soul searching, and I talked to myself. I used to just talk to myself, you know. And then it just snapped one day, and I was like, bro, you just gotta love yourself. You love yourself, and you make sure that you care about you, and you put you first. You're good. Everything else will just fall in place, you know.
Dude, that's beautiful. You saw a reflection in your kids and it made you a better person and makes them a better person in the process. That's that's an amazing thing to have the perspective to be able to see and act on.
Yeah, man. I think a lot of people would be better off if they had something like that. You know what I mean? Like if you had a way to like if you notice that what you're doing isn't a good example, you know what I mean? And then you notice that example, and then you start to examine the example, and you have to really put in a lot of thought and think about why. Why did you do it? What was it going to bring to you? Who did you hurt in the process? You start thinking about stuff like that, and you get at the core of that whole reflection. It's like, dude, you don't care about yourself, because before you hurt anybody else, you have to hurt yourself to do it. Mm-hmm. And it's like my dad, when I was younger, gave me this bomb piece of like advice. He was just like, dude, if you're on a plane and the plane's going down, those little masks drop out, what is the first thing they tell you to do? Do you know?
Yeah, put it on the person next to you or your child.
Nah, man, they tell you to put yours
that's right.
on
Yeah,
first.
That's right. I got it backwards. See, I'd die.
Yeah, but they tell you have to put your mask on first before you can help somebody else, because if you go out of commission, you can't help them. And it's like, I live by that. You know what I mean? I make sure, like, no matter what, like, I don't consider it being selfish. I mean, I know that, everybody does selfish stuff. You know what I mean? It happens. But I don't think it's selfish that I put most of my, like, energy into making sure that I'm good from a mental place, from an emotional place. And it's like, if I feel something, I'm going to talk about it. You know, like I went through a point with my girl, like I would just bottle shit up like for months, and then it would hit and it would just be like, boom. It's like, dude, you can't keep doing that. That's not fair to her. You know what I mean? Like you have to stop, think about it. All right, well, I need to talk. And when I talk about stuff, it makes me feel better because it erases all that extra thought. You know what I mean? All that negativity in your brain. It's just like, no, think about it, process, just be in the moment. You know what I mean? And love yourself.
Imagine if everybody else did that.
Oh my God.
You put your fellow man first and always tried to help them and, to do the proverbial oxygen mask on them first for just every situation in life. I mean, I think about tribes that do this where, no matter how much food you have, even if you don't have enough, you'll give somebody some of your food to eat, which, wow, that's a huge sacrifice. But no, here's the flip side. If you're in the same situation, that person's going to do the same for you. And then everybody's better. Everybody's win. The selfishness disappears. I don't know how we can get there, but I'd love to see society go back towards that viewpoint of helping their fellow man.
Right. And I think that comes from a place like now, like with like the rise of social media, like the depression rates are through the roof. As soon as technology started getting up and social media started getting up, so did the depression rates. You know what I mean? And I think that people, they get on social media, especially like Instagram and stuff, and they see these people that are like on the beach or these cars, and it's like, oh, I don't have that. And it makes them like hate themselves in a way. You know what I mean? And it's just like, dude, no, stop. If you want it, go work for it. You know what I mean? But once you love yourself, then only then can you give true love to other people in my eyes. You know what I mean? Because if you don't have love for yourself, whatever you giving somebody else, is it real love? Like, how do you know what love is?
Yeah, it's going to be a reflection of whatever you have inside.
Exactly. So positive in, positive out. It's so simple. Like, I used to listen to people say shit like that. I'm like, all right, whatever. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. But then it's like you go back to these little simple just tidbits, and it's like, that's it. Those are the keys. You know what I mean? That's what, if everybody could do that and just get back to that, we would be in a much, much better place.
Well, Mike, that is the end of the first 13 questions.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
So, yeah, that was awesome, dude. Actually, we'll go through the outro here so that we can get back into the questions. If you guys would like to learn more about 13 Questions or hear other guests on the show, you can head on over to 13questionspodcast.com, become a member. We've also got $200 in communication courses. You can join the community forums. You can sign up for the prompted journaling exercises that are sent out weekly. We've got also the ability for you to record your own podcast. So if there's somebody in your life, a grandfather, a friend, somebody that you want to hear answer these questions and would like other people to benefit from that wisdom as well, become a member. You can submit it to us. We'll edit it together and put it into the feed if the audio is up to snuff. What else is there? Of course, we've got the bonus questions coming up right now. So you ready, Mike? You ready to jump into the bonus?
Do it. Yes, sir.
All right. Bonus question number 1. What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Turns me on creatively, spiritually, and emotionally. These are great questions. Good God. Anything that makes somebody else happy. If it makes somebody laugh, it interests me. Because that's a happy thing. You know, if you smile, if it makes you feel good, if it takes a bad day, makes it a better day, stuff like that.
I don't wanna hold night. I don't wanna hold night. Yo, what? I don't wanna hold night. I don't wanna hold night. Yo, what? I don't wanna hold night. I don't wanna hold night. Yo, what? I don't wanna hold night. I don't wanna hold night. Yo, what? I don't wanna hold night. I don't wanna hold night. Yo, what? I don't wanna hold night. I don't wanna hold night. Yo,
Why
what?
is one man rich and another man poor? Why we ain't satisfied? Why we gotta have more? Why your suicide rates on the rest so high? Why I tell you the truth but you say don't lie? Why is being a good father at an all-time low? Why is it acceptable? Yo, why? I don't know. Why she blame him and he blame her? It's useless. Ask yourself this question. Why you making excuses? Why do parents gotta bury their kids? Why we text and drive, not caring how scary it is? Why it's so hard to forgive and leave the past behind? And if you did, then that's divine. Why don't you help your brother when you see him fall? Why do we act like God don't see it all? Why do we call them black, them white, them Asians and use labels? Now that's racism.
I don't wanna hold night.
Why?
I don't wanna hold night. Yo, what? I don't wanna hold night.
Why?
I don't wanna hold night. Yo, what? I don't wanna hold night.
Why?
I don't wanna hold night. Yo, what? I don't wanna hold night.
Why?
I don't wanna hold night. Yo,
Why is
what?
there innocent people locked up for life? While some people can't say nothing nice. Why do we always gotta question what all of it means? And why won't you follow your dreams? Tell me why. The night when you took my dad, why'd you let me see my grandpa cry? And tell me why. And why do you choose to hide, even though you was born to fly? And tell me why. And why don't we turn from all the hate? And why don't we learn from all mistakes? Why do I keep on wrecking these fat beats? And teachers don't make more than professional athletes? And why? And why? And why? And why? And why? And why?
I don't wanna hold night.
Why?
I don't wanna hold night. Yo, why? I don't wanna hold night.
Why?
I don't wanna hold night. Yo, what? I don't wanna hold night. I don't wanna hold night. Yo, what? I don't wanna hold night. I don't wanna hold night. Yo, what?
This should be considered entertainment and not therapy. We hope you benefit from our resources available at 13questionspodcast.com. Thank you for listening.